I'm going to be talking about the heartbreak of my life, and the heartbreak of my life is when I found out the truth about the organization of Jehovah's Witnesses. I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness from infancy, and I am considered a third generation Jehovah's Witness. I am no longer a Jehovah's Witness and want nothing to do with the organization of Jehovah's Witnesses. I personally still believe in God and a grand creator. However, I no longer want to associate myself with the organization or the religion of Jehovah's Witnesses because of the things that I found out about 4 or 5 months ago of this year, 2019. Today is Sunday, 22nd of September of 2019, and a lot of the videos that I have watched talks about the things that were bad about being a Jehovah's Witness and things like that. I'm not going to start off like that. I'm going to start off about the things that I actually appreciated from being a Jehovah's Witness. So, number one would be I appreciated the time that was taken to educate each member about what the Bible says. And they claim to have the truth, and that their interpretation of the Bible is very truthful and nothing's taken away or nothing's added. And we, the Jehovah's Witnesses, only go off what the scriptures say. So, doing my own research outside of the organization of Jehovah's Witnesses, I realized that is not entirely accurate, but it did give me my stepping stone into spirituality and understanding what the Bible really says. About 80% I feel and think, based off some of the knowledge outside of JW world, is accurate. 80%, give or take, something like that. I'm not, a Bible expert or anything like that. But just off my own personal research that I have done outside of being a Jehovah's Witness, I was just like, okay, for about 80% I can say what I know and what I was taught. This is, good information, and I appreciate that. So the second thing I would like to say would be I like the fact that I was able to embrace different ethnicities and cultures very early on growing up. So it was not uncommon to see, blacks and whites or Asians or Hispanics or any ethnicity congregate together, love one another, be friends with each other, have a sisterhood, a brotherhood, be married to a different culture or ethnicity, or just all that. Like, that was normal for me, and I really like that. And because it is a worldwide organization, I always felt like I was supported. So like if I would travel to a different state, city, country, anything like that, and I was in need of something or needed some direction in something, I know that I could go to a congregation in the area, the closest one, and reach out to the elders or reach out to any member in the hall and say like, oh, I need this, or, I need this help. And they would, to their best of their ability, find someone or something and help you. Even if it was like a place to stay. And just as a quick example, I met a individual who at my congregation, she was new to my congregation, okay? And talked to her, spoke to her, got to know her a little bit. And then like 2 days, like we exchanged information, and 2 days later she hit me up and she's like, I'm going out of town and I know you don't have a car. You could use my car while I'm out of town. And like, that kind of like connectivity that we had. And then that was worldwide. So I really appreciated that. The third thing I would like to say I appreciated about growing up as a Jehovah's Witness is that because we are told that we need to go door to door. I learned how to be confident in speaking to strangers, and just being able to generate a conversation kind of like out of the blue, whether I'm going up to their door and knocking in their, on their door at their home, or just out and about like at the grocery store or at the gas station or something like that. I developed that skill, and I can't say, or I don't know if I would have been able to develop that skill to the extent that I have it, if I didn't grow up a Jehovah's Witness. I'm sure I would have, been fine because of the type of person that I am, with talking to people, but I learned that at a very early age. I don't have problems with rejection, and I could walk away from a conversation, good or bad, and, just talk to people and kind of be vulnerable with people to a certain extent and have an intellectual conversation with somebody. And I developed that skill because of the requirement of us having to preach from door to door, being a Jehovah's Witness. So those are the three things that off the top of my head that I really appreciated growing up as a Jehovah's Witness. And those are big stepping stones to my spirituality. I still am a very spiritual person, and I still believe in God. And, I love God, and I bless the experience, even though it was traumatic and devastating for me to find out about the truth about Jehovah's Witnesses. And I'm not going to go into that right now. Maybe I could do a different video. And, if you liked any of these things that I have said, it'd be nice to get that feedback. Because like I said, like for me, I have not heard anybody say anything really positive about Jehovah's Witnesses in these videos. Truthful things, but not like positive or anything that they were like grateful for. But I did experience a lot of guilt, shame, fear growing up as a Jehovah's Witness. I can't deny that. I can't say that anybody really, sexually abused me like some people have went through. That didn't happen. Did I hear about that? Yes, I did hear about that. And it's just kind of like, Jehovah will fix that. Jehovah will intervene and fix everything that's wrong. And, just wait on Jehovah. That was like the attitude as far as that. And that's not right, and that's not okay. Certain things need to be made knowledge to the public for the public's safety. That is a very spiritual and godly thing to do, not hide it and harbor individuals who are not safe in the congregation or in society. So that to me is just common sense, honestly, and it's disgusting that this is even a thing for the Organization of Jehovah's Witnesses. And I have come to the conclusion that this is being hidden or was kept secret and not being hid from the congregation members and not being addressed early on when this was first started happening, because this is something that happened initially years and years ago. This is not a new thing. I believe that, maybe the governing body members or something like that, or even the guy who initially started the Organization of Jehovah's Witnesses has something to do with child abuse or sexual child abuse or being a sex offender in some type of way. Like there's something like that, because the Organization of Jehovah's Witnesses have always been good at adjusting things, correcting things, and using the excuse of the light has gotten brighter. And now in making adjustments with certain teachings and, principles that we should abide by. And over the years, in the most recent years, there's been a lot of changes because they made all these accusations and claims that the end is coming. Now, they've been saying that since I've been born and since my mother was born, and she was raised in the truth and too. So, you know, these claims that they made, now they have to take that back, and they say the light has gotten brighter. Now we have a better understanding of what, you know, Jehovah's trying to tell us, and we had it slightly wrong, and here's what, you know, here's what it is now. Now we have this understanding. Like, so they've always been good at that. So it's kind of interesting that they didn't, you know, when it was first brought to their attention that when I say their attention, like the governing body members, that they didn't adjust the law of, I forget what they call it because this was not a common thing to be discussed. Like, you just, there's the, like, the rule, like, you don't take your brother to court. And that's why these individuals have gotten away with sexually abusing children or things like that, because they were going to the elders and saying, oh, this person did this to me, touched me inappropriately, and, you know, whether they had an elder status or not, you know, it didn't matter. Black, white, Cuban, Asian, male or female, because it sounds like it was you know, not everybody was a predator, that's not what I'm saying, but it wasn't just, you know, men that were being predators. It was sometimes somebody's wife. But bring it to the elders' attention, and they never took it to the police. The elders didn't encourage them to go to the police, because they're like, oh, we'll deal with it in the congregation because of that rule. You don't take your brother to court, and that's crazy. Like I said, that needs to be public knowledge, because if that person is doing that in the congregation, ain't no telling what they're doing outside of the congregation. Like, that person probably still had to go to work or go to school or something like that. They're still, you know, walking around in this world, and it needs to be public knowledge, or the authorities need to be aware of that so that they could keep things in check and do an investigation or something like that. And the elders are not equipped to have that type of investigation going on with something that serious. So that is why I no longer want to be associated with Jehovah's Witnesses, and that is a little bit of a taste of my experience. And if you're interested in hearing more about my experiences, just, you know, I guess write me a comment below or something. And then I can talk about other things that didn't sit well with me growing up as a Jehovah's Witness, that was kind of like immediate red flags, even as a young child. So I could do a video about that if people are interested. And thank you for your time, and I hope you find light and the rest of this day.